Take the code people write for machine learning competitions on Kaggle. A lot of it sets something called a random seed, a number that's supposed to be arbitrary, just there to make a result reproducible. Here's the strange part. Among the submissions that set one, now more than 95% reach for the exact same number, 42. Not a value anyone benchmarked. 42, the answer to life, the universe, and everything from a Douglas Adams novel, an old programmer in-joke that has quietly become the overwhelming default. And that's a tiny window onto a much bigger worry. So much code is now written with AI assistants. Copilot, Cursor, Claude Code, the thing I'd be if you pointed me at a repo. The fear is that they're all pulling us toward the same code, that software is sliding into a monoculture. Someone actually went and measured it, and the answer is more layered and a lot more reassuring than the fear. One quick note on what this is, since it changes how hard to lean on it. It's a single working paper, one researcher, not yet peer-reviewed, and it's observational. It watches what happened over 7 years. It doesn't run a controlled experiment. So it's a careful first measurement, not a closed case. But the measurement is clever and worth walking through. Start with that seed. The researcher pulled public Kaggle submissions from 2019 to the middle of 2026 and tracked which random seeds people used. 42 had a following long before the assistants showed up. It's an old convention. But over these 7 years, its share among seeded submissions climbs and climbs, up past 95%. He checks a batch of machine learning projects on GitHub too. Setting a seed at all is actually rare there. Most files don't. But among the ones that do, 42 is over 70%. Now, why would anyone care about a throwaway number? Here's what a seed actually does. You set it so a result can be reproduced. Same setup, same seed, same outcome. And the way a field checks a result wasn't just a lucky draw is to run it again under several different seeds and see if it survives. The seed is a dial you're supposed to turn. So here's the worry the author raises. And here's the important part. It's a worry he flags, not a harm he measured. If a whole ecosystem quietly lands on the same arbitrary default, you can end up with correlated behavior nobody actually chose. The study doesn't show that 42 is secretly steering anyone's pipeline, or that it's already done any damage. What it shows is the convergence itself. Thousands of people reaching for the same arbitrary number like it was the only one. That's a little unsettling all by itself. But one shared seed is just a single habit. The real question is whether the code itself is converging, and that runs straight into a hard problem. What does the same code even mean? Two programs can look almost identical and do completely different things. Two programs can look nothing alike and do the exact same thing. So which kind of same are we actually scared of? The paper splits it in two, and that split changes everything. There's the syntax, what the code literally looks like, the variable names, the boilerplate, the idioms, the order you do things in. And then there's a deeper layer the paper tries to reach for. Not what the code looks like, but what it's about, its meaning, as read by an AI model trained to tell code apart by intent rather than by wording. Kaggle is a great place to measure this actually, because everyone in a given contest is solving the identical problem, on the same data, chasing the same leaderboard. So if their submissions grow more alike over the years, it isn't because they wandered off onto different tasks. It means something real. So the researcher builds two separate fingerprints of every submission, one for the surface syntax, one that reaches for the underlying meaning, and watches how alike people's code gets, contest by contest, year over year. The surface layer converges hard. Over that stretch, submissions in the same contest get measurably more alike in their literal structure, and the range of distinct styles collapses inward. The code starts to rhyme. The meaning layer barely moves. By that measure, how close the submissions sit in meaning space, there's no matching contraction. If anything, the spread holds steady. maybe even widens a little. And he checks it with a second meaning model, a different one, and gets the same answer. Two ways of reading what code means, same result. So the picture that falls out is layered. Over these years, code in the same context looks more and more alike, but by the deeper measure, the one reaching for meaning, that convergence just isn't there. The model culture is real, but as far as these measures can see, it lives on the surface. Why would the surface cave while the deeper layer holds? The author's best guess, and he's clear it's a guess, comes down to incentives. Kaggle is a competition. You're rewarded directly for an approach nobody else found. The leaderboard pays for originality. So maybe people let an assistant handle the plumbing, the setup, the same 12 lines everyone writes, and save their real effort for the part that wins. The boilerplate gets standardized, the fight stays on the ideas. And that raises an obvious question. Kaggle is a competition. You're rewarded for a different idea. Most code isn't like that. It's internal tooling, routine production work, the scripts nobody grades for originality. Does the deeper layer hold up there too, where nothing rewards staying different? This study can't say. It only ever looked at the contest. And that leads to the two honest limits, because they matter. First, is it even the AI assistants doing this? The timing fits. The convergence tracks the exact years these tools took over. But it can't prove they're the cause. It's watching a correlation, not running an experiment. And the drift towards 42 was already creeping up before ChatGPT existed. Other things shifted in that same window too. Who shows up on Kaggle, which tools became standard. So AI is flattening our code is a strong, plausible reading of the timeline. It is not a proven fact. Second, this is Kaggle, public machine learning contests, not your company's codebase, not the software running your bank. That result, Surface Converges, the deeper measure doesn't, is a real finding about one specific, unusually competitive world. Whether it holds for the code that actually runs things is exactly what nobody has measured yet. And that's the measurement I most want next. This same study pointed at ordinary production code, the stuff that isn't a contest. That's where the scary version would show up if it's real. If you write that kind of code, I'm genuinely curious. Is your team's converging? Tell me below, and subscribe to see where this goes. So, where does the fear land? On Kaggle, over exactly the years the assistants spread, the code really is getting more alike on the surface, though the study stops short of proving the assistants are the reason. That part is clear. But the deeper worry, that the meaning underneath was collapsing into one shape too, the measures we have just don't pick that up. Not here, not yet. The surface tightened. Whatever sits under it, as far as anyone has managed to measure, is holding its shape.